Hello everyone, welcome to this episode. How to get inspiration for abstract art? Challenge, simplicity, and addiction to pain. That's just a few topics we chat about with Roberta Boffo, an Italian artist based in Hong Kong. Her work showcased symbiotic relationship between her love for traditional Asian art mediums, such as ink and calligraphy, and the emotional, vibrant side of her Italian heritage. We talk about how to get inspiration for abstract art and the recipe to succeed when starting a new project. The last 15 minutes of the show is a walk around Roberta's studio, where you can hear about her work and her advice on what to do when you don't fit. And now, please enjoy the episode. So, hi Roberta, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
I'm so glad to visit your studio, and it's quite unusual location for galleries. And how have you discovered Sai Kung?
Okay, so my partner and I, we moved to Hong Kong about 4 years ago. And then we stayed in Shamshapo, the area, for about 8 or 9 months. And then we just heard about Sai Kung, and Sai Kung was, this beautiful place, very green, and we kind of missed that. We wanted that. We wanted to be in a place that was, with nature and, quite inspiring and quiet, just to, have a quiet life. And so we decided to go on the hunt for Sai Kung, Sai Kung town. And that took quite a while. We just got lost somewhere in Hung Hao. We had no idea where we were. And then this nice lady just picked us up in her car, and she literally drove us to this area in Sai Kung town and all of the villages around. She just gave us the tour, which was great, and we just fell in love. So we found an agent, and when the right opportunity came up, we just took him.
Amazing.
So we moved.
Even as a teenager, you were fascinated by Asian culture and language. Could you tell us a bit more about this period?
So I think I was in high school then, and I was just before going off to university. And I always had a thing for, I was always very sort of naturally talented or, prone to languages. I loved languages and speaking different languages. And so, back then, which is about more than a decade ago now, China and Chinese was like, it's not close to you, and it's not something that you were familiar with. And I just wanted to, I just had this thirst for unknown territory. And so I told my parents, I'm just going to study. I'll do, my degree in Venice, and that's where I studied Chinese, so Chinese and Japanese and Asian languages and cultures. And then when I had the opportunity to, go for this exchange program in Beijing for 6 months, I said, guys, I'm coming back and I'm studying again, and I'm just gonna stay. And so I did. Yeah, was in the education field until we moved from there to Shenzhen, and then Shenzhen, Hong Kong.
Yeah. It's really funny how you are from quite small town in Italy.
Yeah.
To move to Venice, and then right after to Beijing. It had to be a completely different world for you, right?
Oh my God, yeah. I remember the first time I was there, I was just like, blown away, because I wasn't used to, huge buildings and just the amount of space and the roads and, the amount of cars, and it was just crazy. It's complete opposites. And I think that's kind of also what sort of lured me in.
Yeah.
So it was exciting, yeah.
And then you decide to follow your career in education, and I heard as well. I think I read it on your website that the interaction with kids and also your peers brought you to
creativity kind of came out.
Boosted. Yeah. Could you tell us a bit more about your experiments? How did you start your journey with art?
I think there's a few defining moments for me as an artist, and one of them was definitely China, was definitely Beijing, and Chinese language. So when I was in this various kindergartens where I was working, and I was working with children, I was very, creative in my ways. So art has always been there. And I'm gonna backtrack a little bit now. That's because when I was a kid, I was about 5 or 6. My mom was in the fashion industry for 25 years. And both my parents actually were. And I used to design and I used to draw, all these beautiful clothes and things for my mom. And then she would take all those designs, which actually she would put them on actual clothes, and then she would just go to all these people and clients and sell them off. And I think that seeing me doing the work and then having someone like my mom take that and make it into wearable art or whatever, and just sort of bringing it to life in tangible ways, that was I think that was a spark for me. And yeah, for creativity, it's never lost. It's there, and if you find the right person, they can really sort of nourish it and bring it along and just help you develop and so on. And so that going back to China and Beijing, creativity was always a part of me, a very active, part of me, a very alive part of me. And so I got very addictive to seeing the positiveness, the positivity in allowing kids to be creative in class. So I started teaching kids, line work and pattern work, because when I was in high school, another defining moment, there was my art teacher. She was the one who introduced me to, line work. And I remember back then it was actually colorful. But the point is, it was, patterns and lines and all this, movements and rhythms, and how you get like all these 3D looking things by just, adding lines on top of each other and so on. And I was fascinated. When something clicks, it is just right for you. And out of all these many art projects that we did, I think that is the one that I'll never forget. I'll never forget that. And there was something about it that just clicked with me. And so when I was teaching the kids, and still do today, I introduced back then, all these, line work and all these patterns and so on. And I remember that I used to do it, I used to draw in front of my class, and even the teachers, even my colleagues were all just like, wow, it was so captivating for them to, to witness that, and then also do the work, so appreciate the process and how you get there to, like really, intricate and complex works. And so, yeah, I think that is what, seeing their reaction, that is what, sort of, stuck with me and just kept me on, on that path that brings me here. Today.
So you, from the beginning, you knew what kind of style you like from the high school experience. That was the moments like, oh, that's something fun which I want to explore.
When I look back, there's just 3 main moments, and that is my mom. That is, the experience that I had when I was a kid with my mom, art-wise. And then, China, Beijing, and calligraphy, and, the ink, my medium. And definitely, the education, my experience in the education field with the kids, and yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. You also mentioned that you love Kandinsky work, and I'm actually curious how your Asian culture fascination, Kandinsky, which is Russian, and then your Italian culture transform into what you are making now. So if you can tell us a bit more about your current style.
Right. So I think also that same teacher is the one who introduced, Kandinsky, and we looked at different artists and so on, and just, again, Kandinsky just clicked with me. And me, not even, in the colors, because obviously me and Kandinsky, color-wise, don't really go hand in hand, but it was just the use of, the lines and the dots and the spots and all these shapes and forms, it's just, I really liked that. It was just, I don't even know how to explain it. I just, I felt that, and so I took all of those little elements and I just started filling papers, and the more I was given, the more I was filling the paper, the more I was getting back. I was just like feeding myself, and the more it was like addicted to the art, to that particular style. And so from all these patterns and all these lines, slowly that thing combined with my love for calligraphy, and Chinese language, and it sort of became a little bit, I don't know how to explain, maybe looser, like it loosened up. It just got this flow to it. I got, out of broke the boundaries, and I got out of the box, and so they mixed into what my work is today, which is, you asked me to be specific, but very, very difficult to do.
No, I mean, I think art, it's really hard to describe art, and I have exactly the same problem every time when I speak to artists. It's like how I can describe it. Like, I mean, it's
like,
just,
if I think of really someone who's actually listening to what I'm saying, they probably have no idea what I'm talking about. And I don't know how to bring them there, because because it's difficult if you look at sort of, Chinese calligraphy, even the ancient, really traditional characters. Yeah, there's a little bit of that, and there's a little bit like, a little bit of what? No idea. It's just flow, just this flow to it, and all these symbols that just come to life organically and spontaneously without really, thinking.
Yeah, it's like your own, what you do, like the symbols, which are so well connected. It's look like a new language. Is that something which
so many people mention that?
Is that? Are you actually trying to create stories by the symbols? or it's something which it's coming just unconsciously there?
Yeah, so the latter, from subconscious. So I'm not really trying to portray anything, at least not actively. I could say that each and every work is a reflection, a representation of who I am or who I was in each and every instant, throughout that process. So it is me. It's you look at that, you look at me. It's me. But no, there isn't any, not necessarily. I haven't decoded the language yet. I thought about it, but I don't know. I don't want to, I think I don't want to put labels on it. Just, you know, it's just I'm out of time and out of space, and the symbols just come, and it's almost a need. I need to let them out, otherwise, you know, you can send me to the loony bin. Seriously, it's just, I don't know. It's just the process that I need. I'm addicted to beautifully, and I need to be in that zone. It's like, you know, the cluttering, it's like my clear space. It's like, you know, every one of us has a, you know, something that we do for us, that is just for us, that makes us feel good, that makes us feel, you know, empowered and, you know, purified, and you know, it gives us a clear mind. It gives us clarity. That gives me clarity.
And how from where are you taking the inspiration? I love your current projects. You have this series of tree trunk like prints, and it's absolutely, it's just incredible. And then you have this series with the symbols which are together, yet they have different kind of shapes in it, like bigger shapes and smaller shapes. And can you tell us a bit more about inspiration for those projects?
Inspiration. I think, right, I'll do, okay, I'll talk about challenge, I'll talk about simplicity, and I'll talk about pain. So let's start from simplicity. The thing that I love about my art is that how I can take something so simple like a dot that becomes a line, that becomes a form or a shape of some sort, and how all those, you know, extremely simple, the simplest elements can yet become something that is so intricate and complex. And I love that. And that brings me to the challenge. I love that, you know, I love to be challenged by my work, and also throw in an extra challenge in the work, because that helps, you know, it helps me evolve in terms of, you know, artist. I don't, you know, you want to find your thing, but you also want to sort of grow and dig deeper into that, you know, that particular style, and just, you know, push. Otherwise, honestly, I don't feel like I'm growing if I don't, you know, if I don't, for example, let's talk about clarity. Clarity was a work that was done when I finished, you know, the first layer on the paper. I covered the whole paper with symbols, and, you know, that turn into faces, and, you know, objects that you actually find in real life. So for example, I'm thinking about time, there will be a clock there. I'm thinking about, oh, I just want to sit on the beach somewhere, so I put a little chair there with a little, you know, a line that can be a sea or an umbrella or something. So there are things that you can recognize, that you can connect to, relate to. And then, yeah, so I was, you know, I was so happy. I was just like, what, that's it? You know, I wanted more. And that is the driving force behind my work. Because if you don't want more, hell, it's going to be very difficult to get to the end of a work, because it's just going to, you know, weigh on you. You don't want it to be. You want it to, you know, you want it to carry you to the end of the project. And so that is why I decided, you know, I'm just going to stick a big, you know, a big circle in the middle that is hand dotted. And that was my challenge. You know, that was because it took, oh my God, it took like 100 hours, yes, but it took me about 7 months to put together. And
crazy.
I you know, and this is just beautiful. And I think that is why, you know, my work goes between, you know, rings, and then, so I sort of put the elements together, but I also break them apart and then use them individually. So you have the tree rings, which is just lines, if you think about it. And then I have all the symbols, and then the dots, and then, you know, which normally they kind of go together because they fit really well together. And
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I love the broken symmetry as well in your in all your work, especially from far. And
there is a balance.
It's a lot of balance, and then you are coming close, and then there is this chaos. But the chaos has also the order, which is like really funny. Like just and
it's
you
like
are a master. You start
chaos,
to be a master of it. Love that.
Yes.
Love that.
That takes me to pain. Pain is very addictive. And so going back to clarity, and then another commission that I finished in end of June, just before I went on holiday, that's called Torn, not by, just there's a reason why, obviously. That was like, going to hell and back, really, that commission. And even clarity, there was just so much pain and physical distress, because really when you do dotting the way I do for like 4 hours, then you'll have pain. And if you keep going, if you just don't, even with small breaks, you have so much pain build up in your hand. At some point you just, I was really walking around here almost with tears in my eyes because of so much pain I had in my hand. I couldn't use it, my forearm, and then my shoulder, and then my neck. It goes all the way up here because just of the amount of pressure that you put in to do that type of dot at the speed I do it.
And I just need to say that for people who are listening, like the dots which you are doing, they are so precise, so detailed, and so small.
Yeah,
and
it's like
it's probably 1,000. Would you say that it's probably 1 million of them in one of this kind of work?
Oh gosh, I know. I think so. I think it's more.
More, right? Crazy. It's just crazy.
It's
so
a lot
detailed.
of dots. It's like really, really tiny dots. So I'll try to be specific. Fine liner, unipins, so 0, 0, 1, and then just dot really lightly or with a little bit more pressure, but it's continuous dotting. So press, release, press, release, press, and release. And, and that is quite a painful process. But in that pain, in the process, there is joy. There is, it's still exciting, and because you overcoming, you're taking on a challenge actively, and then you overcoming, and then you're succeeding, and that process is just very, very empowering, and you just want more.
Beautiful.
So
beautiful.
It's not pain in terms of the work is painful work, or in its meaning, what I mean. So you still put up in your house a work that is screaming out balance and harmony and peace, but the pain is really it's one of those driving forces that sort of move the work in certain directions, and that make you evolve as a person.
But would you say that it's pain, physical pain, but actually mentally you are?
Oh no, mentally I'm having a blast. But physically, physically, obviously, it's a lot of distress.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, and I could see so much also sacrifice, as you say, and this challenge, and you are spending so much time for each piece, as you said. Like sometimes one piece can take you few months, right? So which one is the longest?
The longest here, longest almost 200 hours, but it's not here. Here is maybe around 100, between 100, 150. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's okay. It's still not a lot. I mean, if you think about it, if I was to work on these pieces 6 hours a day, then you do your calculation. About 2 months, you're done. Yeah? Yeah, right? But I don't. So, or at least not for all pieces. It's just a lot of stuff going on, and so, and I do work at night a lot.
Oh, I just wanted to ask. So you are one of those artists who are waking up right before sunset, and then you're working all night,
No,
or
I wake up like every other normal person in the morning, but I do for Torn, this commission I was telling you about, which is just about very similar to Clarity, with the big. I'm trying to be specific, with the big dotted circle in the middle, and then all the symbols as first layer. Oh my God! I think I did like 2 weeks of insane. I was here until 4 or 5 in the morning every night, and that was when I was doing the dot work for about that time, 2 weeks, the final rush, I was putting in like, God, I don't know, 10 hours of dotting per day. That is crazy, yes. And when I left for Italy, I swear I couldn't do I couldn't do just another dot. I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to. Oh my God, yeah, it was like.
Oh my God, crazy.
Insane.
And actually talking now about the stories behind, I always like to ask this question, like if you can tell us about the story behind one of your paintings which you love so much, maybe because of the process, maybe because of the challenge, maybe because of the pain, or maybe because you discovered something new.
Okay, I'll talk to you about, so there's 2 actually works that I love, and that is that I have very good, memories. One is In Motion, and the other one is La Danza, which is Italian for the dance. Yes. So in motion, okay, so In Motion, if I have to try and be a little bit descriptive here, has the bigger, bolder strokes, so a little bit like high contrast. And then it says 4 layers actually. So those strokes came first. That was the first thing that I did, just with a wide flat brush and a little bit of ink, and then just paint here and there, a few like half circles. Almost reminds you of like vinyls, vinyls, like music. And then all this swirly. Lines, right? You see bigger stripes. And that was the first layer, and then I went in with like a really fine calligraphy brush and some ink, and I sort of started to fill, because I like the filling. I like to, I'm not very good with negative space. So when I see white space around, I'm just like, something's supposed to be there. It's not supposed to be white. And I love grays. So as I was telling you earlier, I just love achieving, all the grayscale that it's in between the white of the paper and, the black of the ink. So that's what I was working towards there. And the third layer then was all this, the dotting in between. So the strokes, so it might have like, like blank space. Bristles, sometimes they don't paint, that they stick all together, so you get space there. And I didn't want to leave that high contrast between the black and the white of the bristles, so I just dotted in there. Again, grayscale. And the last bit which was a new thing. So there you see growth and, evolution, and and that was the last layer that was done with pen and ink. So the same symbols, very similar symbols, just I went over some of the bolder strokes, the wider strokes, brush strokes, just to sort of add, just to add like, just an extra feel, an extra vibe, almost like to confuse you, which is very interesting because at the Asia Contemporary Art Show, a lot of people looked at that work and we had to call them back, just go closer. You know, I find that it's hard for people to, you know, walk towards the works and the art. It's a very like, you know, standoffish, you know, and you stand back and you just look and okay. And there's so much detail there to see. I just wanted to almost have to grab people back. Just go and take a look. Ask me questions, you know. So it's quite interesting because even from here, you kind of don't realize how much detail is in that work. But I loved.
Your work definitely, like you should definitely look from few meters, a meter, and then go to like literally like 2 centimeters from, and then you can see this final dots. But this what you said is very true. Like a lot of people coming to galleries, and I think it's because a lot of museums, they have this barrier between you and the painting, and you should not be close because accidentally you would touch it, right? So then people have this feeling, it's like, oh, I should not come too close, but actually some work are made for it, right?
You talk about that because that is part of my artist, you know, my statement. What is my purpose as an artist? And ultimately, I love to see, you know, people interact with the works and seeing that person walking, you know, the physical, the action, you're moving towards the art. That is my purpose. You understand? I want people to go closer, to walk towards art. You shouldn't walk away from it. You should walk into it. It should be something that is just, if you could see these arms that are sort of, you know, stretching out from a canvas or a paper, and they're just hugging you, they're just calling you to come closer. And I love that the image of someone, you know, walking towards art. It, you know, world would be much better with a lot more art in it.
Oh yes, absolutely. No, it's great. And actually talking about exhibitions, so you just finished Contemporary Art Show, which was great, and I had such a pleasure to see your work there.
Thank you for coming.
And now, what you are planning to do next? Could you tell us a bit more about what you are planning to do in point of projects and in point of shows on the end of 2019 and beginning of 2020?
So. Right, so because this is, it is my studio, but it is also a gallery. So we do host exhibitions here. We have a couple of exhibitions coming up. We have another exhibition that would be like a duet, like a double solo or a joint show with Filipino artist Jojo Ramirez, who I got to know through other fairs and shows in Hong Kong, and I've seen his work, and he was just very excited to do something here, so we decided to do something together just before the holidays to see if you know, people want to get some art and just, you know, travel where they're going with it. You know, I thought it would be nice to just close the year
absolutely
like that. And that I don't have definite dates yet, but it will be the first 2 weeks of December, that's for sure.
Amazing. As soon as you know the date, I'm going to update this on the show notes. So then you should definitely come and see Sai Kung, because it's changing so much because of people like you bringing here art and bringing here artists from all around the world. So it's a really great trip, and actually it's not such a long time to get from Central to Sai Kung and experience it today. So it's
I think it's
really
actually
nice
very
way.
well connected. That was our impression as well before we moved here. You know, oh my God, we're just gonna go live in the countryside or like cut off from everything. And instead, no, it's extremely well connected. It's loads of buses and very easy to reach.
If you have a car, it's probably half an hour. If you have a
if you
bus,
make it a day out, you know, you go to Sai Kung town and you just, you know,
absolutely
you can get like a really rounded up, nice experience in this area of Hong Kong. And just to close on your question, and for future projects, nothing. For next year, again, as I mentioned earlier, I would love to sort of reconnect a little bit with my patria, la mia Italia, and just and just kick in a few exhibitions in Italy. In Italy, that would be great. I do have quite the following of Italian people who who just like, wow, my God, I've never seen anything like this. Please, if you do come exhibit in Italy, I would love to see your work in person. So I'm really, I would love to work towards that.
I just love the combination of your heritage, your Italian spirit, with this Asian traditional ink and the detailed drawing. It's just this combination. It's absolutely great. So indeed, I think in Italy it would be something very unique, very special. I miss Italy. I would love to see. I definitely would love to see how Italians sort of react to the work. That'd be interesting, I think. And is it something else which you would like to add before we do the second part of the interview, where we look a bit closer to your work, because as you said, you would like people to kind of go towards it, so then the second part of the interview will be a bit more there. But before that, would you like to add something?
Nothing, just thank you for this opportunity, and you guys can find me on social media. I'm all over the place, on Instagram as Roberta Boffo Art. So just look for me, Roberta Boffo. That's it. I said it in Italian. And then on Facebook as well, I do have a page. And then my website, which is again same, robertaboffo.com. That's where you find me, and you can see more of my works and read more about me, my inspirations, and the like. And then this gallery, for those people who would like to visit us in Hong Kong, we are in Sai Kung town at first floor, 11 Manning Street, which is just the same road of the main square.
Yeah, it's very easy to find it, by the way, very easy access. So yeah, come and see. And here where you can also show your fans the prints and your work.
All the originals. I do limited edition prints. I do open edition prints.
Amazing. Can we also see all the work at your website? We can, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. Awesome. So let's start the second part of the interview and go around and see a bit closer what we talked about before. So
cool.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you, Roberta.
Thank you.
So Roberta, what is this painting? Is it this one which you mentioned?
Clarity.
Clarity.
That one I was talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the one.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, see, if you're walking closer, you can actually see. Are you able to actually see the dots? The dots, dot by dot?
I think so. Let me see. Yes, it's just ridiculous amount of work here, and so beautiful.
This is the one I was talking about. The challenge and sort of the my standards are so high for myself that I sometimes spend I spend time just looking around trying to find imperfections.
Wow.
And I can see them.
And
other people are just like, no, it's great.
Yeah.
But I'll see one or two few things then.
And then it's really cool. And do you remember actually the specific time when you were painting like some part of it and you thought about something specific? I could see like some faces here. I could see some arrows, etc.
Faces are the easiest thing to do because it's just I don't know, spontaneous, organic way of assembling, you know, two eyes and then one line for whatever is your hair or whatever. So it's just very, you can really play around with those elements, so you get all sorts of different faces and expressions too. And I really enjoy that, doing that. And for other things, let me find, for example, there are some boats here and there. I was probably thinking about, let's see, I wrote mom here in Chinese. I do integrate Chinese characters here and there. There is art there. There's probably my Chinese name as well. Le Yi or Lo Ai in Cantonese. Which is like
where is
fun,
it?
Fun and art. Oh, let me see.
I can see Roberta here.
Like buildings of Hong Kong as well, here and there. That one upside down, isn't it? What isn't it? IFC or something. I think the other thing that I really like about the work and having people collect my work is that it's sort of an interactive, long-term experience. It's, you know, you wake up in the morning and you can walk down to the same work for 300 days from the moment you bought it, and
you will get something else.
Something new, especially on, you know, emotion, that work. Really, and that makes it, you know, an artwork that you're not just buying it once. It's for you for, you know, and it's interactive. You have sort of this, okay, so let's go find something new today. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And motion, which is the one I was talking about earlier, the 4 layers, so you'll see them here. The bolder strokes, that's what it was talking about. The thing that I was trying to explain was this, you know, the dotting in between, sort of when the bristles, the brushwork breaks out, and then all of the pen and ink over the sort of these wider strokes, and yet kind of subtle, you know, not so high contrast. Yes. Yeah. I love this work. It was really like an advancement from walls and windows. And there's a lot of growth, a lot of good thoughts there.
So you're always starting by putting the big stroke, and then
if it's this type of work, yes. Yes.
Awesome.
Because that's
really
sort of
cool.
You know, it's just organizes my space. Okay, so here they are.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous.
So this is Above and Beyond, which was part of a diptych. So it was 2 pieces. It was matching lines until I finished that one, and that one sold, and then I was left with none. So I just, you know, didn't really have a reference to match anymore. Yeah, and this is Rupture, what you're looking at right now.
It's looking a bit like a knife as well, or something like that. It's broken.
It reminds me of a mouth of a monster this way. That's why I normally would hang it the other way around. Oh, and that is one thing, maybe I'll mention it, I don't know, but there's one thing about all my works, because it is, most of my works, they are abstract works. So when I do the framing, job, I get them wired both ways. So the collectors do have power of, whether they decide they want to put it one way or they might like it the other way around.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
You don't mind if someone would put it upside down?
I don't. Art, comes from me. It is for me. But ultimately, when you buy a piece of art, I do want you to, feel good about the way that it's, in your house, whether it is the way that I displayed it or just the other way around. It doesn't really matter. I think it's a good thing, because it means you're thinking about the work, you're feeling the work, you plan around art, and so that's a beautiful thing.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, in a lot of your works we can see also elephants.
Oh.
I didn't ask about this in the interview, but I'm very curious. Why elephants?
I don't know. I just like the animal. Elephants is such a huge, massive creature, and yet so fragile and delicate. And I think I like that that fragility. It almost reminds me of me, sometimes like a person has such a big personality and a huge ego. And yet, when you start peeling the onion, that I am, when you get to the core, I'm actually extremely sensitive and very sweet, but not everybody gets to see that.
It's so much work.
So yeah, this is la danza, Italian for the dance, I mentioned earlier. And it's something very funny about this work because, the moment I started with all this, I know I'm getting a little bit Italian accent now, but the moment I started with all these pen and ink and, all my symbols and my gibberish and my scribizzi, for the Italians, they will understand what that means. It was so liberating when I started this work. It was just like I was making it was just right after the commission. So, I just started a new journey, and it was, so beautiful and so liberating. That's just the word for it. And I was very happy, and it went, I was out of space, out of time, and it just went it actually went fairly quickly because I was really running. When you're so excited about something or a book you're reading, you just go, pages and pages without stopping. And so that's how it was with this work. And when I thought about the elephants, because I did want to put elephants there in some way, I started, drawing these little elephants and then dotting them out. And I was just like, it felt like they were rolling through the canvas, just coming in and then just doing their happy little dance and then just rolling out, like passing.
Yeah.
And I remember I was really actually laughing out loud while I was dotting on the elephants, because that image of them just coming and doing like all that cute dance, so then going, you just need passion, perseverance, what else? Practice and discipline.
So that's your advice for people who would like to maybe start their own practice, or they would like to maybe
passion. You gotta be passionate. If you ain't got the passion, then there's nothing to work on.
Yeah.
Perseverance. No matter how many times you fall, no matter how hard it gets, it sounds cheesy, but that's what it is. Just persevere, keep going, and stick to your guns. And then, what else did I say? Practice. Yeah, keep practicing. Every work is practice, no matter whether it is, an original, just, or like a study. But it is practice, so practice daily, and no matter how little you do, it's always worth, more than you can imagine. And the rest is discipline. I was a swimmer for 15 years of my life.
Oh, wow.
So discipline is very much rooted in the way I was brought up, and how I grew up, how my parents taught me discipline, hard work pays off. Yes, and attitude towards your work, towards your journey, towards your how you think of yourself. That makes a difference. That's very important. Yes. You're gonna be your how do you call it, your craziest cheerleader. You gotta cheer for yourself.
Absolutely.
You gotta be the first to cheer for yourself without waiting for other people to cheer for you or to cheer you on.
Yeah, and I think this is for artists, and well, not only for artists, for everyone who are starting their own business. It's so hard because, I mean, as you start and you are new in something, there is a lot of people who will say maybe not such a compliments, etc. And it's really hard sometimes to stay positive and stay thinking it's like, oh, I am on a good way or not.
Do you know how many times I doubted myself in this? How many times I said, I'm like a fish outside the tank. I don't fit. And what is that, how do I let that play into the whole, grand scheme? And, but definitely, if I'm not my biggest supporter, he is my partner, husband.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's always been very, very supportive, and he's always believed in, the work and the style and everything. And now I do, I do get a lot of reactions from a lot of people, and it's just like, wow. And that's very, encouraging. It keeps being encouraging.
Yeah. Also, on this wall, there are paintings which you mentioned that they are a bit older.
Yeah, so smaller works, and also not so, in terms of intricacy, obviously not at the level of what we've been seeing so far. And that is because, so all these works are from last year, I believe. Yes, or in October of last year. And these three. So composition 1, composition 2, composition 3. Not sure. The new things that are coming around. Don't show yet.
Sorry.
No, I mean, I do post here and there, but not the big picture, just few, videos how I get my things done. But the new work that's coming, I'm working on a new big collection. I'm hoping 10 pieces. We'll see where we go with that. 120 by 120, and that's with your, tree ring that you like so much. Yes. So that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be great. I love it already. I just started, but I love it already.
Roberta, thank you so much for showing us your amazing studio and gallery. And
thank you for having me.
Guys, you should definitely visit. It's such a nice space. Let me know if you have any comments, if you would like to know more, and if you have any questions to Roberta as well. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to hearing from you. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me. If you like the content, please subscribe to my channel. I promise I will have more of those, and talk to you soon. Bye.